Welcome to Connectronix, and I'm Steve. And as you can see, we're not in the showroom today, but we're actually at a job, or as they say, boots on the ground. In this case, it's more like shoes on the carpet. This is new carpet. I should probably take my shoes off. Anyway, we're doing a Monitor Audio 7.2.2 system today. So we're going to unbox all this equipment, actually set this up, and show you what it's all about. I love that. Welcome back, and as I mentioned, we are going to be doing a Monitor Audio 7.2.2 system today, and this system is going to be upgrading or replacing an existing system that was here. So this job we've done many upgrades on over the years, and their latest upgrade was this entire entertainment center here. You can see it's a huge, beautiful entertainment center. Whereas the one that was here before, we were able to put all of the speakers in and hide it behind the doors with grill cloth on them. And now that they upgraded to the new cabinet, this cabinet doesn't have any way of hiding the speakers like the old one did. So this was a focal system, and we put that in probably, well, at least the speaker system was put in about 2007 or 8. So it's been a while. This is the Chorus 700 system. And this will not work in this application because, as you can see, this is supposed to be a display shelf and all you see are big speakers. So as I mentioned before, these speakers were able to be in the entertainment center and hidden behind doors with grill cloth on them, and now they are kind of all out in the open. So I've done a lot of research trying to find a system that would integrate well with this cabinet and not be seen, but still give a good performance, at least as good as we could in a home theater type of setup, getting all of the channels that we need. Again, like this is a 7.2.2, so that's 2 subwoofers, 2 Atmos speakers, 4 surrounds, and then 3 in the front. So how to integrate all of that into this existing cabinet here was a challenge. And I've gone through all of the different types of manufacturers, many that we have access to as well as some that we don't, just to see what I could find. And I looked at like different speaker bars and trying to find maybe smaller center channels or small bookshelves. There's an area down below the TV here. It doesn't give us much range to put anything large in it. So this should be a tight fit, but give us great performance on the left, center, and right, and get it all the sound that we want to get out of it. So I think with all of my research, I came up with a really awesome solution using Monitor Audio to integrate a great sound system into this cabinet without drawing too much attention to it and without making it look too obnoxious with having speakers and subwoofers visibly in sight. And obviously, as you can see, the first one here is the Monitor Audio speaker bar. And it's called a speaker bar instead of an actual sound bar. Although they say it's part of their sound bar series because the lingo is a sound bar and everybody knows what that means. But it actually is a speaker bar because it's a speaker, it's passive, and has actual speaker drivers in it. Okay, we have a manual, obviously, and it looks like some screws, and I think that's for the bracket that you can wall mount this speaker bar. Okay. That's all that. Hey, you got the back side. Okay, the back has, and I'll show you as soon as I get this out of the bag, but it has 3 connections on it. Okay, I'll show you the back since we started there. But as I mentioned with the manual, There's screws, and they screw onto this bracket on the back so you can wall mount it. The bracket that you get, you do have to order that separate, but the wall bracket has a hole and a way to attach it. You can bring the speaker wires through that bracket, and the speaker wires we have on here that we need would be a left, center, and right, and that's why it's considered more of a speaker bar, because it's passive, there's no power inside, and it has real speakers in it. So full-size woofers with tweeters, and so there's an array for the left, the center, and the right, all in one bar. And that's what we're going to do, and put that in here, and it's going to be a tight fit, and I already know that going into it, so I may have to modify the way the feet are, because I think that the feet on the bottom taking up 1/8 of an inch may make that little difference there where it's going to be too tight. But it should fit in here eventually, and be a nice tight fit but work in there. So like I said, when doing custom, you do things to make it fit, and that's what we're going to have to do, is make that fit, but it'll be a nice clean look going all the way across. Okay, so we have the Monitor Audio Bronze FX speakers. The FX is for the surrounds on the side walls and the surround back. We have 2 pairs of these, so 2 on the back, 2 on the side. Manual, an Allen wrench. It comes with rubber feet to put on the bottom sections. Also, there is a template in here. You can see the template. You can stick to the wall and it'll tell you exactly where you need to put those screws to fasten it to the wall. And these speakers are also kind of a double duty type of surround speaker, where I'll show you on the back that there is a switch. Let me get this out of here. And there's a switch here where it says bipole and dipole. And the difference between a bipole and a dipole is a dipole is going to be more direct radiating, meaning that in this case the tweeters being on the sides, they're going to direct that sound at the same in phase out at you, which is where you want to have these set up for a surround back. So surround back, you want to have it direct radiating. Then you flip the switch for a bipole, and that makes this tweeter and this tweeter out of phase. So when the sound comes around, it creates a more diffused sound because it's less directivity as to where that sound's coming from, creating a larger surround sound on the sides. So the side surrounds, you would set it to the bipole, and then the surround back, you want direct radiating, that would be a dipole. So it's really cool that you can have one speaker do both things for you. And these are much smaller than what the speakers, the focals that we'll be replacing them with. So the focals, being a little bit larger, has a 6.5-inch woofer, which matches what's on the front here. Well, these are smaller with a 5.25-inch driver, and that's okay because they won't play as low, but also it doesn't need a larger driver, and it's a better match for what the speaker bar drivers are going to be, because those are a 4-inch driver. So you have multiple 4 inches for the fronts. Surrounds are going to be a 5.25, and all better quality, newer, latest and greatest. Okay, next up we have the Bronze AMS. AMS, I'm not sure exactly what it stands for. Maybe it stands for Atmos speaker. I don't know. Maybe. Atmos mount speaker. Not sure. But this is one that can be used in multitude of ways. Again, it gives you the thing so you can have the holes wall mount it. We're not going to be wall mounting these. We've used these before as the speaker toppers, and I'll explain in a second how we can use these. Come on, there we go. Okay, so this is the speaker here with it as a topper, where it would point up at the ceiling and that Atmos sound would come down. You can see that on the top here there is a horn loaded tweeter, along with a 3.5-inch woofer. I'll leave the grill off for a second. So when it adds a speaker topper like this, that sound will bounce off the ceiling and come back down. It has where you can mount it to the wall, so you can put it up high as a front height speaker, and that sound can come down. You can use them as side surround speakers. And the other thing you can do with these is, depending on where they're located, you could even physically mount these to the ceiling to get that sound down. So it depends on how you want to mount it. So that's why I said you could use it for side surrounds, back surrounds. On top, in this case, we're going to use them on top of this cabinet and point up at the ceiling, or you can set them on a speaker. They match perfectly with the 200s or the 50s as far as size. They'll sit right on top and be up firing. So great speakers to be able to have different ways of using them. Up next, we have the bronze W10 subwoofers. So just like the name says, with the 10, these are 10-inch subwoofers. And there's rubber feet that actually go on the bottom of the plastic feet. There's a control cable to turn that sub on and off. Obviously a power cable, the manual, which we know we all like to read. Silica gel, which I like to sprinkle on my cereal and ice cream, sometimes my salads, to give it a little extra crunch. Do not do that at home. I make that up. Okay, so with these subwoofers, what's cool is that these are not ported, but they have a bass or a passive bass radiator on the bottom. So this is the passive bass radiator here. And we got these speakers in the dark wood or the walnut color. Let me set this here so we can see it. Pull off the grill. Okay. And again, with all the other speakers in the lineup, they have the same type of cone material, so it's the same type of design. So all the speakers throughout the system have the same tonal quality as sounds move throughout. So that's what's really important about a system, is not the size of the speakers or how expensive they are, but having the entire system work well as a whole. Synergistically, everything working together. And that's not just speakers, that's the electronics and the cabling, the power. Everything needs to work together as a system. So the best way to start is having those speakers match sonically. And in the case here, like I showed you, almost every speaker in this system is going to be smaller in size. But the fact that it's newer technology, probably 15 years newer than what is coming out, and along with better technologies and better sonics, but everything matching as well. So the front speaker bar has smaller drivers, but all of those are going to match. The surrounds, front and the sides, or the back and the sides, are also going to have smaller drivers. The Atmos are going to be a little bit smaller than what's currently up here. And the same with the subwoofers. These are 10s. The focals that they're replacing, those focals drivers are 11-inch. So it's not about how big all these speakers are, but having them all sonically work well together. Maybe you're not going to get as much output, but then again, no one's cranking it up to 100 all the time. But the point is to fill that room with great sound quality, and that's what this system's going to do. So with this subwoofer, again having two of them, where are they going to go in this cabinet? So the idea I came up with is to take these subwoofers, and you can see this TV here. This TV will be upgraded next. It's on order. We don't have it yet, but that's the next thing coming. So this is going to end up getting raised up and the TV will be bigger. But what the plan is to move this TV forward and then take the subwoofers and set them up on the cabinet behind it. And probably what I'm thinking is hoping to get them on an angle so the subwoofer will play out on both sides of the TV, almost having this part of the cabinet act as like a large bass horn, almost like what Klipsch does with their corner horns and stuff. So that's a thought I had, is to try to get the bass energy. This is a very solid piece of furniture here. This is like 2 inches thick right across here. So it's not like the cabinet isn't strong enough to hold it. And what I want to do along with that is isolate it, which is the next thing I want to talk about. And if you saw one of my other videos regarding the isoacoustics, that's what this is for. And we have the Aperta sub. So these are the isoacoustics Aperta subs. And what this will do, you see on the back here as well, this is the isolation platforms for subwoofers. So taking 2 of those, setting the subwoofers on isolation platforms by isoacoustics behind the TV, you're not going to see the subwoofers, and this will help keep it from shaking the cabinet and get that bass energy out into the room. So that's the plan that I came up with. We'll see how well that will work out. So let me set this aside and get the next one unboxed. And I think these are some pretty nice looking subwoofers. We've used the black and grays before, but I really like the brown wood grain on these. I think they look pretty sharp. See all the controls on the back. There is a couple different modes. With this switch here, there's a music mode, a movie mode, and an impact mode. And what that does is just changes the frequency at the low end and how much output you get. So a lot of it, may not make too much of a difference. You can set it one way and then have your receiver do the calibration, which is what we're gonna do. And then we can fine tune it from there based off of how much output we need to get or how much low end we need to get out of the subs. But I just want to see how this looks. Yeah, that's a pretty nice look. That's really close to the same brown on both. You can see here, nice dark brown, so that works great. This should match really well. And even still, hopefully we don't see too much of it, as the new TV is going to come pretty close to each side. That the only way you're going to see that subwoofer is if you kind of poke around the TV. The other thing I have in my box of goodies are some pre-made speaker cables. So I generally, like in this case, I made up some speaker cables, I put the ends on, but with these cables, they're very thick and heavy. This is an Ultralink 1412, which is a 14 gauge and a 12 gauge, and you can put them together or you can keep them separate and bi-wire it. It's kind of a high-end speaker cable, but with this cabinet and the size of these cables, it's a lot of it I kind of feel is like overkill. And with using the speaker bar now, my thought was just to get some nice cables that are pre-made without going overly crazy with it. And I usually make cables up, but I just thought as far as having something pre-made, it'd be nicer and have something that's easier to plug in. So these are just ones I got off of Parts Express. It's a 14 gauge cable. It's already got bananas pre-terminated on it, and these should work out great. So I have 3 6-footers for the speaker bar down here, and then I got 2 12-foot cables, one for each Atmos up above. And then as far as the surround backs, that was done when we wired the place, and that's done with the 16.4, which is already doubled up with banana plugs on the end. So then those wires are already done and set. So we won't have to do anything with those. So those are the speakers. Those are the Focal Cora 706s. At the 705s up on top is Atmos. And the subwoofers, you can see that's the 700V subwoofer. Down below is the latest Integra 9-channel receiver that does Dolby Atmos, it does 8K switching, all of that stuff. So we're good with that. And above with that is the VCR. It's the Super VHS VCR, right? Gotta have that. JVC, of course. And then you have your Furman Power Center down below, taking care of all of our power. And then above that is a LG 4K Blu-ray player, so you still have 4K discs as well as Blu-rays and DVDs you can play. And above that is the cable box. You can see where that soundbar is going to go down there. And the next upgrade that we're waiting on is going to be a new TV. Obviously that one's kind of small, so the TV will be next after this. But nothing else in the system needs to be upgraded because it's all current and does everything that is out right now. Those are the Focal 700 chorus surrounds. Coming back over here, these are the surround back speakers above the couch. And then over here above this picture is the other one. So disregard that speaker up there. That in-ceiling speaker is part of the house audio system. But that's what this system consists of. A side surround, 2 surround backs, another side surround, and then coming back to the cabinet will be a left, center, right. That'll be cleared off. Atmos up above on both. And then those subs down there and there will be replaced with subwoofers behind the TV, making the same number of channels a 7.2.2, but making it where everything is hidden and sounds awesome. So one of the things I like to do with the wires, obviously, would be to put some tape on them so I can label them. You don't want to go around and just keep plugging them in and figuring out which speaker is which. And back in the day, we used to write left and center and right surround, left surround. But now we just go around and write LCR for left, center, right. I'm going to plug them into the speaker bar, feed those wires down the back, and that way they're already labeled, set to go when I pull the receiver out. I have one of those label makers, but it's really not worth the time and doing all the labels if you're really never going to see it. Sometimes in equipment racks it's nice, but in a cabinet like this is good enough. So you see we just have an R on there and both sides, so we know. Don't need to make it complicated, right? Easy peasy. Okay, I got the wires tucked in the back here. And let's see how well this fits. And I knew it was going to be tight. Let's see how well we do. And again, this is nothing more than me going online and measuring and trying to figure out what I could get to fit in here. And it's looking tight. I'm going to take the TV out so we can get to our other wiring. And I got to pull the speakers down, so let me show you what I did for connections on the back. Let's see, I made these up, still using the Ultralink cable pants here with some nice banana plugs. So that's why I replaced them with something similar, but just a lot thinner and easier to manage. And I could have just taken these cables and plugged them right onto the speaker bar and been done. But my thought too was with the Atmos speakers, we'll get all the speaker cables the same gauge and everything, make all that match too. So like I mentioned before, we're going to be putting the 2 subwoofers up here, and I'm going to be using the Isoacoustics Aperta sub as a platform to set it on. So this is just a little unboxing of that. So here's the manual, and the manual, it just kind of talks about the instructions on how to set this subwoofer on it. But it's not rocket science, it's as simple as this. And as I mentioned in the other Isoacoustics video, the logo or the word of Isoacoustics always faces forward. We're going to have this play out on an angle. However, usually you would set the subwoofer on top of that, but as I showed you, this has a passive radiator on the bottom, right? So we can't do that. So the thought was to set this way on its side. So because of these feet sticking out, and we don't need the feet because we're using isolation platforms, we're going to take the feet off of the subwoofer making it custom, right? Custom audio video, you gotta make it custom. So what I'm gonna do, get this as far back as I can go, because we still need to have enough room for the TV, obviously. And actually, it's probably a good idea to get these because it's going to make it a lot more stable back here as well. See, that's going to stabilize it quite a bit. And do the same thing over on this one. This cabinet is very thick and solid, so this is a very solid base for these subs to be sitting on. So that shouldn't be a concern. So here's the sub cable. Obviously plug this into LFE. Here's the other one, goes into LFE. Makes it simple if we're just swapping stuff out, right? Pangea cables, we've used quite a bit of those over the years. Great cables for the money. And this is their most basic cable. Model number on this is an AC14. And the AC14 obviously is a 14 gauge. So take a look at that. And the biggest thing for me with the power cables is to make sure you use a shielded power cable. So this is the cable that I was using. It's kind of a no-name cable, but it's a 12 gauge shielded. And you can see it's pretty, stiff. And the other thing I was thinking was to get some nicer, newer stuff in here. Maybe it's not a 12 gauge, but you can see that difference in thickness here, making this AC14 a lot more pliable without getting something that's big and bulky in the back and harder to manage. So we're going to use 2 of these and get this system cleaned up and using Pangea. Drop this back there. Okay, there's that. Okay, time for the TV now. And I wish we had the new TV, but we have to wait on that. Let me move the camera here so you can kind of see what's going on. So the subs there, you can see the little isoacoustics down there. And when we get the bigger TV in there, you won't have those subwoofers being seen. Like they're poking out on the sides now, but all that will get covered with the new TV. So you can see how close that soundbar is to fitting. It's a little long on this end over here, but I'm gonna have to finagle something. I'll figure something out on how to get that in there. So it's just gonna sit like that for now until I dig into it a little more. Okay, so I have the speaker wire here and one of the AMS Atmos speakers. Go up on top. So you can see this is on top of the cabinet here, and that's where it's going to sit. So it won't even be seen from down below, but it'll be up firing up towards the ceiling, giving us that Atmos. Here's the speaker wire. This is the old one. So we'll be exchanging that out. So one of the tricks of the trade is this wire obviously is going down to the receiver, but it has to snake through there a little bit. So I'm going to take the new speaker wire and just tape it to the old one. So when I get down below and disconnect the old one, I'll just have to pull that one and keep going until I get to the new wire. I won't have to worry about trying to feed it over. Drop through the hole. It's all about making it simple. Here we go. And that speaker's good to go. New speaker with the wire all set to go. The side surround speakers, there's start with this one. Doesn't really matter which one you start with, right? And make sure we don't lose the wire in the wall. Don't want that happening, so spread them out, make sure they don't drop in. So one thing I have to do is in the package to give you a little rubber bumpers, and we'll stick those on the bottom corners. That way when it's on the wall, the bottom is hitting the wall and not going to vibrate. And I already have some anchors in there from previous speakers, so hopefully I'll be able to just utilize one of those existing wall anchors and put the speaker up in its place. So that's what I think I'll do, since we have that here, and then run that speaker wire down and get that hung probably like that, because if I use this hole, it's getting pretty close to this wall and bringing it too far back. So I'm going to go off of this one and go forward. There's an anchor down here that's too low, so perfect. And then I'll just duplicate the same thing on the other side. So I got the template here. Like I said, we already figured out where we're going to be mounting it. We're going to use that one. And then what I'll do is figure out where this one is. We'll level it. I just take a screw and I'll poke it. And we have a spot on the drywall where to mark it. So that's what I'll do here. Poke that one. Poke this one. And the first one will line up right there. Then the level on it right there. Okay, don't move. And I poke a hole here. Now I know where to put the other wall anchor, right there. And I'm going to double check that spot. There we go. And that should work. That will mount right there. The anchors I usually like to use are the easy anchors. These are screw-in drywall anchors. I have 50 pound and 75 pound. The ones that are existing up there are the 75 pound, so I'm going to use the same. That way to keep things consistent. Not that I need 75 pounds, but better safe than sorry. And you're not supposed to have to drill for these anchors, but anybody that's used these, it's better to drill them. Just a little hole to get it going. Otherwise, it just makes it tough, and I've broken a lot of these off. And it's not worth it just to try to force it into the drywall. So I just drilled an 1/8 inch hole, I think it was. See? And that grabbed good. Then, just use the 2 screws for the eye hooks. Leave it out a little bit. Make them both the same. Looks pretty good. Get the wire ready to go. Like I said, this wire is a 16/4, and I just have both twisted together. Ran it just in case. That way you have extra wires if anything ever comes up. And in the meantime, it's a little thicker, so it's not 16 gauge, comes out to be like a 13 when you twist 2 together. And the last thing is the switch on the back. Like I said, this is going to be a side surround speaker. So for side surround, we want it as a bipole. Yep. All done. Looks good. Mount it up. Another one down. So just basically repeat the same thing in the back again. Comparing the old speakers to the new speakers. Alright, as you can see, we got it all done and wrapped up here. We have the center channel tucked in behind there. In order to make that work, I had to take out a wood bracket on the side, just enough to tuck it over and then pull it forward. But like I was saying before, I didn't have a lot of options as to what could go in there. And in this case, it fits perfectly. It looks like it was made for it. No more speakers up above. The subwoofers are behind the TV here. Atmos are tucked up above where you can't see those, and then the surrounds are put up, and the surrounds are actually smaller than the old ones, so now there's actually more wall space. Looks a little better up there as well. So now overall the system is all set to go. Next step is to calibrate before we wrap up. Okay, now that we got this set, the next step is to calibrate. There's the microphone. You can see it's in the middle of the speakers here, right in front of the TV. So you start with the center spot, and the Integra DRX-3.4 has Dirac, and that's what we're going to do here with the iPad. Okay, going to plug the microphone in, and then we follow everything on the iPad. This is for the Dirac Live. Speaker configuration, 7 channels with 1 channel subwoofer. We have the sub split, there's 2. And the height speaker, so that front high is there. Those are the Atmos on the top of the cabinet. So that is the configuration we have. And Dirac Live, yes, we're going to resume. Let's do that. Adjust the level. Check the level of each channel. Make sure it's in the green. Front left, center right, surround left, surround right, surround back. Subwoofer is too high. Okay, so I gotta turn that down. So hit next. Now we have to be quiet. Okay, that was set. Next step, we got to move it over to the left side of the couch, and it tells you 20 to 40 inches away. Go. Okay, there we go. So it says measurement is complete. So it took the measurement of the center, left and right spots along the couch. Then we can hit next. Now it's going to do its calculating. So while it does that, I'll quickly explain what the calibration with Dirac Live is actually doing. Is from the microphone position on the couch or wherever you're sitting, is it sends the test tone of every single speaker in the system, and it will adjust each speaker's volume. So from wherever you're sitting, no matter how far away that speaker is from you, it's going to play at the same volume. It then does time alignment, so that it will either delay the speaker or move that sound slightly ahead. So if a speaker's further away from you than another one, that sound will arrive at the same time at your seating position. Then the other thing it will do is it will do the crossover and listen to how that speaker sounds within the room and what the extension of that speaker can play. So it'll play as much as that speaker's capable of or as low as it can go. So it'll do the crossover, and then on top of that it will equalize it. So then it will equalize every single speaker within the system, so all the speakers will, at the end, will be the same volume, same time delay, same equalization, so every speaker sounds the same from your seating position. So then what it does is it listens into multiple areas and then does a combination of all of those to give you a good even sound throughout the room. So with the Dirac Live, what it does is calculate each speaker, and you can see that every speaker in the system has a different color here, and then it creates this frequency response of how that speaker sounds within the room. So this red one here that you can see coming down here, that makes sense because that's the subwoofer, so there's no highs on that. But every speaker, it tells you what it heard and what the crossover setting is for every speaker, the delay that it needed to put on it so it sounds like all the speakers are coming to you at the same time, and then the level of every speaker. So every speaker from your seating position is the same volume. So this is what it heard to begin with, and it says before correction. And what it wants to do then is equalize this so it sounds the same and make every speaker the same. So after correction, you can see how flat all of those speakers are within the system. You can see a couple here that are out of the range, and then let's see what those are. Those would be I see a blue and a green, so the surround right and surround left. So it looks like the highs are a little bit different on those, but that would make sense because we're doing the surrounds as dipole and bipole. So those are going to sound different within the room from your seating position, or in the case of being less diffuse, which would make sense, and that's actually what you want with the highs. And then down here, this area here is where the speakers will roll off. So you'll have some noise in there, but a lot of it is going to be cut out anyway. So that part isn't going to be heard because it's adjusted at the crossover frequencies here. So for example, the surround back left says 150. So 150 hertz and below, it's not going to play that anyway, so you're not going to hear it. And then the center is at 70, so that only has to play down to 70. And then the subwoofer looks like it's right around 200 that it's rolling off on the low end. So I think that's pretty good. So we just take that, we hit next, and then it's going to take all the information in the iPad here and transfer it over to the Integra and process all of the Dirac Live inside the receiver. Bingo bango. So now I can disconnect the microphone, and then the fun part begins.
Right now, you're listening to where cinematic audio has been. Because we are so used to hearing sound this way, we don't notice that it is merely a fraction of what its potential could be. But what if sound could be extraordinary again?
Engines are up and burning.
Opening main doors for secondary deployment.
Camera away.
What if sound could be subtle, authentic? What if sound could be deeper, more dimensional? There's no need to wonder, because you're listening to Dolby Atmos. With Dolby Atmos, audio can precisely move in any direction within this theater, whether the sound sweeps from the back to all the way in front, arcs overhead, or moves anywhere in between. Today, you will feel every dimension. How does that sound?
Oops. What? I dropped the jewel. What? You dropped the jewel? I leaned over, thought I had to puke, and I didn't. And it came on my backpack. We need the freaking jewel! I know. That's the crazy part, because I know we need it. So we're in the pickle. We're in the pickle.
Alex, turn around. We gotta go back and get it.
Yeah, let's just loop around. Just look for it, guys. Everybody open your eyes. Let's all just look for it as a group.
Awesome. In a pickle. They were in a pickle. You don't want to be in a pickle. I was in a pickle when I was first doing this system, trying to figure out what I could do to get the sound of the Focal system into a smaller size and form factor that would fit this cabinet. I was in a pickle. But I was able to come up with this, and you saw my thought process behind it and why we did what we did. And there are some pluses and minuses to the system. The pluses, the surrounds are much better. The other plus, I would say the bass is better and improved. But maybe one of the minuses is that it is a speaker bar. You lose some of that separation and soundstage size. So before, with the Focal speaker being in the left cabinet here and the right cabinet here and the center channel being up here, it created a larger sound stage. And now maybe that's tightened up a little bit with the speaker bar. But that's about it. But that speaker bar matching tonality with the surrounds and then matching with the Atmos up above, it's large spaciousness and good even sound throughout the entire system, which is a big plus. And that was the main focus of this, was to not see anything. And that speaker bar literally looks like it was built for this cabinet. I could not get anything in there that would fit any better, that would look any better. This thing is perfect. Customers are just super happy about it. I'm happy about it. And I think that's great. So the next upgrade is going to be the TV. Yes, it's small. The next one is on order and it will be coming. So thank you for sticking around. Hopefully you got something out of this. And until the next one, don't get yourself in a pickle.